What's up folks, how's it going? This is Watch. Hope you guys are all doing well. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Parrot Anafi. Now this is one of the few drones that's going to give DJI a run for its money for real. We're going to be comparing it directly against the Mavic Air, which is super popular, super compact, and probably one of my favorite drones of all time. Both of these actually share a lot of common features that we'll talk about, but there's some specific advantage that each of them present, and we want to ultimately find out which one reigns supreme, all things considered. So if you're interested in seeing which one comes out on top, let's get right into this comparison. Now firstly, let's talk about the design and overall form factor of both flying camera platforms. Now for Parrot, the Anafi is the first fold-out drone design that they've came out with, and obviously it's designed to compete with the Mavic Air and the Mavic Pro series of drones. And even though the Air, both in terms of drone and controller combination, has a smaller overall footprint, there are some interesting design attributes that the Anafi has to offer. Firstly, thanks to its lightweight carbon frame construction, it's about 100 grams lighter than the Air, which in combination of the slightly larger battery results in a slightly longer flight time. And thanks to the retractable arm design for the propellers, you can actually deploy the drone about half the time it takes to deploy the Mavic Air, since the fold-out design is a little bit more involved on the Air compared to the more simple retractable design we found on the Anafi. Now, in terms of the controller itself, I certainly think that DJI has the better controller in terms of overall form factor and design, certainly more compact solution, but the new Sky Controller 3 from Parrot is a huge improvement from the giant monstrosity they used to get with the Bebop and Bebop 2 drones. And from a functionality standpoint, both are extremely similar in terms of controller dynamics, the amount of controller options you have. Both transmitters have the same maximum distance of about 4 kilometers in terms of communication, and you get an HD 30 FPS feed directly into your smartphones on both platforms as well. Now, before we get into the actual camera differences, let's talk about the gimbal itself, because there's some interesting things about the Anafi. Firstly, it's using a 2-axis mechanical stabilization gimbal for tilt and roll, but the yaw axis is actually being digitally stabilized, and it looks just as good as the fully mechanical 3-axis stabilization system we have on the Air. What's really interesting is that the Parrot can shoot actually about 180 degrees on its tilt axis, so if you want to shoot the sky or something above the drone, you have that capability. And like every other drone out there, the Air is limited to about 170 degrees on its tilt axis, which is fine for most people, I think. Now let's talk about the cameras themselves. In terms of sensor technology, we're using a 0.5-inch CMOS Sony chip on the Parrot versus you're looking about a 0.5-inch CMOS chip, which I believe is also supplied by Sony, but there's a difference in terms of resolution on the CMOS chips. You're looking at about 12 megapixel sensor on the Mavic versus about a 21 megapixel sensor on the Anafi. Now, one of the major benefits of the higher resolution is the fact that you have a lossless digital zoom capability on the Parrot, giving you an effective focal range of 23 millimeters by 69 millimeters in photo mode and 26 millimeters to 78 millimeters in video mode. So it gives you a little bit more versatility in terms of what you can do with your shots on the fly. A similar feature that we found on the Mavic 2 Zoom, but instead of zooming in optically, it's using a digital-based system, which is definitely not going to give you the same level of quality, but definitely from a utilitarian standpoint and from a feature standpoint is pretty neat nonetheless. Now, in terms of the video capabilities, both can shoot 4K at 30 FPS, and the Mavic Air has 120 frames per second at full 1080p, versus you're looking at only 60 frames per second on the Parrot. So definitely in terms of slow motion capabilities and high speed frame rates, the Mavic Air has the Parrot beat on that front. But in terms of overall video quality, both have HDR capabilities, both shoot around 100 megabits per second in terms of video bit rate, but we're going to roll some side-by-side footage and you be the judge to what looks better to your eyes. Now, in terms of flight dynamics, the Mavic Air is certainly more advanced in terms of its aerial capabilities. It has forward, backwards, and downwards facing obstacle avoidance system. It has a faster top speed, about 42 miles per hour versus you're looking about 33 miles per hour in its sport mode for the Anafi. But surprisingly, in terms of hover stability and overall ease of use, both are actually pretty much on par with each other. The Anafi is extremely stable up in the air, even with high wind velocities going right up against it, and I would definitely put it on par with what DJI has to offer, which is definitely pretty high praise. Both have awesome general safety features like Find My Drone and Return to Home function, as you would expect with a modern aerial camera platform. Now, one of the most impressive things about the Anafi was the fact that it was almost 10 decibels quieter than the Mavic Air. The Mavic Air is extremely loud, and generally speaking, when you're flying a drone, you want to attract as less attention as possible, and that is definitely a big positive thing for the Anafi. Just take a look at this side-by-side noise level comparison. In terms of some of the intelligent flight modes, both have a lot of share common features. They both can do smart dronies, hyperlapse, they can do orbit, digital dolly shots, cable cams, all that kind of fun stuff that you expect. In terms of live subject tracking, I think the active tracking system on the Air is a little bit more advanced and a little bit more reliable. And unfortunately, you do have to purchase the active tracking capabilities on the Anafi, which is about an in-app purchase, about 99 cents, which isn't a huge deal, but kind of does suck since DJI does include it for free, and I think they have a more reliable system, but it's certainly usable on the Parrot side. We do have 32 megapixel spherical panel capabilities on the Air, as well as the hand gesture capabilities, so you can control and actively track the drone by just using some simple hand gesture, something that the Parrot Anafi does not have at this point. And really the only thing you can do is launch the drone out of your hand. You're pretty much tied to the controller for the most part, unless it's using a follow me protocol or something like that. So generally speaking, the DJI is definitely the more advanced drone in terms of intelligent flight capabilities, as you would expect. Now, lastly, let's talk about overall flight times and battery performance. In terms of battery capacity itself, we have a 2700 milliamp hour battery on the Anafi, versus you're looking at 2375 milliamp hour battery on the Air. DJI claims about 21 minutes versus Parrot claims about 25 minutes. Based on the dozen flights that I've experienced with the Anafi and about 25 flights I've experienced with the Air, I range anywhere to between 12 minutes to 16 minutes on the Air, versus about 15 to 20 minutes on the Anafi. So definitely, in terms of longer flight times, the Anafi has the Air beat. Now, to sum up everything we've talked about thus far, let's talk about the individual advantage that each of the drones present. Let's start with the Parrot Anafi. Firstly, it has that digital lossless zoom capabilities. It has a greater range of a degree of tilt, up to 180 degrees. It has the longer flight times. Plus, it's much quieter in terms of noise levels. And lastly, the price point is a lot more aggressive. Right now, you can get it on Amazon for under $550. And I'm guessing it's going to go down even more as we go throughout 2019. So compared to the $799, or sometimes DJI has sales for around $699, and even refurbished models can go for around $639, it's still not going to compete with what you could typically find a Parrot Anafi for. So definitely a huge advantage there in terms of value. Now, in terms of the Air itself, we definitely have to say it has a smaller footprint, both in terms of the drone and controller combination. It has slow motion capabilities at 1080p at 120 frames per second, versus the best thing you can do as 1080p at 60 on the Parrot, as well as full gesture and hand control mode. And lastly, it has a multi-directional obstacle avoidance system, which adds a level of assurance and technology that is definitely not present on the Parrot side. But really, other than that, guys, honestly, this is the first comparison in a very, very long time where DJI has actually been challenged. I know they kind of own the skies and own the industry in terms of compact form factor drones, but now you actually have a awesome, viable option that is not only great in terms of its aerial photography capabilities, but presents some unique advantages that even the Air doesn't. And before this thing really came out, I would actually keep this drone. I know we review a lot of drones in this channel, but usually the one that I keep most often is the more compact ones, and the Air was my favorite for a very, very long time. But this is actually a lot more affordable, it's more compact, it's easier to deploy, and it has all those unique advantages. I would honestly consider this over the Air based on my experience thus far. Now, we'll definitely keep you guys posted in terms of any issues that we encounter later on. I've had this for the last 4 weeks. Thus far, no real issues or in terms of reliability concerns or anything like that. And hopefully the software will get more advanced and better as we go throughout 2019. Definitely love to hear your thoughts. If you have any specific questions, love to hear all those things in the comment section down below. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and also make sure you have notifications turned on so that way when we upload a video, you can actually watch it. Thanks again for your support, and we'll see you later. Take care.